The Eye of the Sahara, Earth's Ancient Bullseye. Introduction: The View from the Heavens. In June 1965, the astronauts of the Gemini 4 mission were peering down at the African continent, looking for impact craters to photograph. Amidst the endless, undulating orange dunes of the Mauritanian Sahara, they saw something that stopped them in their tracks. It wasn't a crater, it wasn't a mountain range, it was a giant, shimmering eye looking back at them from the dust. A bullseye of concentric rings, 40 kilometers in diameter, etched into the very crust of the Earth. This is the Richat Structure, famously known as the Eye of the Sahara. For decades, it served as a landmark for shuttle crews and remains one of the most recognizable features of our planet from space. But the more we look at it, the more questions it screams at us. Why is it there? How did nature create such a perfect geometric shape? And why does it match with haunting precision the descriptions of a lost world written over 2,000 years ago? In this audio journey, we aren't just looking at a geological oddity. We are opening a book written in stone and sand. We are going to explore the 5 chapters of the eye, its discovery, its violent geological birth, the controversial theories linking it to the lost city of Atlantis, the human ghosts who once lived in its rings, and the modern scientific value it holds today. Prepare to adjust your perspective. We are moving from the vacuum of space down into the scorching heat of the Mauritanian desert to uncover the secrets of the eye. Chapter 1: The Eye of the Desert, a Physical Marvel. To understand the Richat Structure, you must first grasp its scale. Imagine a structure so large that you cannot actually see it while you are standing on it. If you were to walk across the Eye of the Sahara, you would simply feel like you were walking over a series of low, rocky ridges and valleys. It is only when you ascend, high above the clouds, that the image resolves into a perfect concentric iris. The eye is located in the Adrar Plateau of Mauritania. It consists of a central pupil of circular hills, surrounded by ring after ring of sedimentary rock. These rings are not uniform in color. They shift from deep ochre and chocolate brown to a ghostly, salt-crusted blue in the center. The iris is composed of ancient rocks, some dating back to the Proterozoic era, long before the first dinosaurs ever walked the Earth. Geologists describe it as a deeply eroded, slightly elliptical, giant sedimentary dome. But that dry scientific description fails to capture the sheer, haunting beauty of the site. The outer rings are made of resistant quartzite, which is why they still stand tall today, while the valleys between them are the result of softer rocks being eaten away by millions of years of Saharan wind and rare torrential rain. One of the most striking features is the blue center. This isn't water. The Sahara is far too dry for that. Instead, it is a high concentration of hydrothermal features and salt flats. When the sun hits these minerals at the right angle, the center of the structure glows with an eerie cerulean light, making the eye look alive. Why does this shape exist? In nature, perfect circles are rare. We see them in the ripples of a pond or the craters of the moon. For a long time, the leading theory was that a massive asteroid had slammed into the desert. However, as we will see in the next chapter, the truth of its birth is much more complex, involving the very heart of the Earth's tectonic machinery. The eye is not a scar from above, it is a blister from below. Chapter 2: The Blister of the Earth, a Geological Deep Dive. For years, the Richat Structure was the holy grail for impact theorists. Its circularity was so perfect that it seemed impossible for it to be anything other than a meteor strike. But when geologists finally reached the site on foot, they found a problem. There was no shocked quartz. When a meteor hits the Earth, the sheer pressure and heat transforms the molecular structure of the sand into shocked quartz, a crystalline signature of an impact. The Eye of the Sahara has none. It also lacks the shatter cones typically found at impact sites. Instead, the rocks within the eye are folded and layered in a way that suggests a slow upward pressure. The modern scientific consensus is that the Richat Structure is a domal uplift. Approximately 100 million years ago, during the Cretaceous period, the supercontinent of Pangaea was breaking apart. As the African and South American plates began to drift away from each other, the mantle beneath what is now Mauritania began to bulge. A massive plume of magma pushed upward toward the surface, but it didn't erupt like a traditional volcano. Instead, it acted like a giant slow-motion piston, pushing the layers of sedimentary rock upward into a massive dome, a blister in the Earth's skin. As the magma cooled and subsided, the top of the dome became unstable. Over the next 60 million years, the top of the blister collapsed and was relentlessly eroded by the elements. Because the dome was made of different types of rocks, some hard, some soft, the erosion didn't happen evenly. The harder quartzite layers remained as ridges, while the softer limestones and shales were carved out into valleys. What we see today is the roots of that ancient dome. It is a cross-section of the Earth's history, explored for us to see. But there's a catch. Within the structure, geologists found rhyolites and gabbros, rocks that only form through intense volcanic activity. They also found breccias, jagged rocks fused together by hydrothermal fluids. This tells us that the Eye was once a place of incredible heat and chemical transformation. It was a cauldron of the Earth's internal energy, simmering beneath the sand for eons before the desert claimed it.
Chapter 3. The Ghost of Atlantis. Myth or Mapping? Now we move from the world of hard science into the world of historical mystery. This is the chapter that has made the Richat Structure a viral sensation in recent years. If you look at the Eye and then read the works of the Greek philosopher Plato, a series of coincidences begins to emerge that are difficult to ignore. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, written around 360 BC, Plato describes the lost city of Atlantis. He claims it was a city of concentric rings, 3 of water and 2 of land, arranged in a bullseye pattern. He gives the dimensions. The central island was 5 stadia in diameter, and the entire city was approximately 127 stadia across. When you convert those ancient measurements to modern ones, the diameter comes to roughly 23.5 kilometers. The Richat Structure's central ring system measures almost exactly that. But the similarities don't stop at the shape. Plato described Atlantis as being protected by mountains to the north and opening to a great sea to the south. If you look at the Eye of the Sahara on a topographic map, it is nestled against the high ridges of the Adrar Mountains to the north. While it is currently in the middle of a desert, satellite imagery and geological surveys have proven that thousands of years ago, the Sahara was green. It was a land of rivers, lakes, and lush vegetation. Some researchers argue that an ancient megalake, or an inlet of the Atlantic Ocean, could have reached the Richat, providing the water Plato described. Plato also mentioned that the stones used to build the city were red, black, and white. Within the Richat Structure, these are the exact colors of the dominant rock types: red iron-rich rocks, black volcanic gabbros, and white crystalline salts and quartz. He mentioned that the city had an abundance of copper and gold. Mauritania is today one of the world's leading producers of copper and gold. Mainstream archaeologists are highly skeptical. They point out that Plato's Atlantis was said to have sunk beneath the waves 9,000 years before his time, and that the Richat Structure is over 400 meters above sea level. How could a city on a plateau sink? Proponents of the theory argue that a massive cataclysm, perhaps a tsunami of fire and water, or a sudden tectonic shift could have washed over the area, leaving the silt-choked mud that Plato claimed made the sea impassable. Whether the Eye is truly the site of Atlantis remains one of the most debated topics in alternative history. But even without the legend, the structure is a testament to the fact that the Earth's geography and human memory are often intertwined in ways we are only just beginning to map. Chapter 4. The Green Sahara. Humans in the Iris. Long before the debate over Atlantis, and long after the magma cooled, the Richat Structure was a home. To understand the human history of the Eye, we have to erase the image of the dry, dusty desert. Between 11,000 and 5,000 years ago, the Earth underwent what is known as the African Human Period. During this time, the monsoon rains moved further north, turning the Sahara into a savanna. The Eye was not a barren bullseye, it was a lush basin filled with life. Archaeologists have found Acheulean stone tools, hand axes, and scrapers scattered throughout the rings of the Richat. These tools were made by Homo erectus and early Homo sapiens, dating back hundreds of thousands of years. The Eye was a landmark for our ancestors, a natural fortress, or perhaps a sacred site where water would collect in the valleys between the ridges. Inside the structure, there are remains of Neolithic settlements. We find pottery shards, arrowheads, and the bones of animals that shouldn't be in a desert: hippos, crocodiles, and elephants.
These people lived in the eye when it was a paradise. They walked the same ridges that astronauts now photograph from 250 miles up. One of the most poignant finds in the region is the desert varnish rock art. On the cliffs surrounding the Richat, ancient artists carved images of cattle, giraffes, and hunters. These carvings are the photographs of a lost world. They remind us that the eye has seen the entire arc of human evolution. It saw us when we were hunters in a green garden, and it sees us now as we look down from space stations. The humans who lived there likely had no idea of the structure's shape. Without a drone or a satellite, you cannot see the eye. To them, it was simply a series of protective hills, a place of salt and stone, and a source of life. The fact that they thrived in this geometric anomaly adds a layer of human mystery to the geological one. We are part of the eye's story, just as the quartzite and the magma are. Chapter 5. The Future of the Eye: Science and Survival. Today, the Eye of the Sahara is more than a mystery. It is a vital tool for modern science. Because it is so large and so stable, it is used by NASA and other space agencies to calibrate the sensors of satellites. When a new Earth imaging satellite is launched, they point it at the Richat Structure. Because they know exactly what the rocks and the scale are, they can use it to ensure their cameras are focusing correctly. It is, quite literally, Earth's focusing target. But the eye is also a warning. As we study the transition from the green Sahara to the current desert, the Richat Structure provides a climate record. By drilling into the sediments in the center of the eye, scientists can see the layers of dust and pollen that tell the story of the Earth's changing climate. It tells us how quickly a paradise can turn into a wasteland. As the world faces increasing desertification, the eye stands as a monument to the power of environmental shifts. It reminds us that the permanent features of our world, our cities, our forests, our coastlines, are at the mercy of the planet's long-term cycles. The Richat Structure is a rare bridge between fields of study. It brings together the astronaut, the geologist, the historian, and the dreamer. It challenges us to look at the Earth not just as a collection of countries, but as a living, changing organism with a deep and often violent biography. Whether it is a geological fluke, a remnant of a lost civilization, or a cosmic bullseye, the Eye of the Sahara remains one of the most captivating places on our planet. It invites us to look up, to look back, and most importantly, to keep asking why. The Sahara may hide many things beneath its sands, but the eye remains open, watching the sky, waiting for us to finally decode the full story written in its rings. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the Richat Structure. From the magma of the Cretaceous to the dialogues of Plato, the Eye of the Sahara reminds us that our world is far more mysterious than it appears at first glance. If you like content like this, deep explorations into the anomalies of our planet and the mysteries of our past, please like this content and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue to bring these stories to life. What do you think is the truth behind the eye? Is it purely a geological wonder, or is there more to the Atlantis connection than science is willing to admit? Let us know in the comments. Thank you.